Hello, my name is Bill Bennett. I'm one of the instructors in the CIS department for MSJC. And in this video, I want to show you how to do a database first migration in Visual Studio 2015. To get started, we'll use one of the templates available to us in Visual Studio 2015. So we're going to create a new project. When the new project dialog box opens up, I'm going to go ahead and select ASP.NET Web Application. And we'll just accept the default name of the application for now and click OK. And then we want to choose the MVC. That stands for Model View Controller. That's the template that we're going to use here to help us to quickly import and then build CRUD pages for the lunches database, or the tables in the lunches database. What's really nice about this MVC template is it gives us a complete solution to start with. Well, complete in the sense that it gives us just some basic views. You know, we've got a home page or a home folder that has an about page, a contact us page. In fact, let's just go ahead and run one of these to show it to you. So in this example that I'm showing you right now, we're actually using the local IIS running on my computer. And so that's where everything's loading from at the moment. So you can see here's the about page. You click on contact, it's going to go to the contact page. You click on home, it's going to go to the index page. So that's, you know, a basic configuration that we start with from the MVC template here in Visual Studio 2015. What we need to do now to do our database first migration is to right click on our models folder. In fact, let me point out that I pointed out the views folder, so that's the V in MVC. You have the models folder, which is the M in MVC, and the controllers folder, which is the C in MVC, so model view controller. And some support files in here. You'll see that we have a lot of DLLs that have been added into the project to help support what we're doing here. One of the important ones I should point out too while we're here is this entity framework. This is version 6 of the entity framework. You can see that down here in the property sheet. And that's the framework that you should be using to do this model database first migration. So that's why I'm using Visual Studio 2015, because the template already has that version of the entity framework added to it. If you're using a previous version of Visual Studio, you'll probably have to go into your NuGet package manager and then add the latest version of the entity framework from there. All right, so now let's do the migration process. Let's right click on the models folder, and from here now what we want to choose is the add option, and what we want to add is a new ADO entity data model. So we're just going to call this, let's call it the lunches model. And then we get this dialog box that asks us what the model should contain. So the code first model allows developers to actually write or represent their table schemas as C# classes. So that's one way of creating an MVC application is by doing it where you write the models first. In the example I'm going to show you, we're going to actually do the database migration process where all the code is built for us and all the models are created for us from the schema of the tables that we're going to import. So I'll select that choice. I'll click Next. So in this dialog box it reads Choose Your Data Connection. We can click on this New Connection button here. And with the subsequent dialog box that pops up, we can then identify our data source. You can see that you do have an option here to actually use the tables that exist in an Oracle database source. But our goal is to use our Microsoft SQL Server. So we're going to change that data source to a SQL Server. Then we'll identify the name of the server. We're going to log in as the system administrator. And then we'll let it load up the databases now, and we'll go ahead and select that SQL demo database that we created in the earlier video. And test the connection, make sure everything's working correctly. Then we go ahead and click OK. Once we have a connection to the database server, then we can go ahead and proceed to import the tables that will be used to create the entity models for us. So we didn't get the next button because I didn't choose no, exclude sensitive data. There's no sensitive data in our table, so we're not going to worry about that. Now we'll see the actual tables in that SQL demo database. Here they are. We'll select them all. If we wanted to import views, we could do that as well. I believe, have one view in there. Actually, we have two views, one for the all lunches and then one for the numbers. We'll go ahead and import those views as well. Now, we could import views as well, but for this demo, I'm not going to do that. Then I'll just go ahead and click Finish. And I'll open up the Models folder here in our Solution Explorer. And just show you that all of those tables now have been built for us. So we have the departments, employees, food, lunches, and suppliers there. And then this lunches represents the data context. Remember that we had a choice there in the dialog box to tell it, how to save basically all of this imported information as a model. And so that's what this file here does for us. And if you open up each one of these individually, you'll see that they have the basic structure of the actual table that they were imported from. So we use basically the same column names and the same data types that were assigned to those columns. And so the models are all built for us. Once the models are built, we can actually then use those models to generate views that will allow us to then edit these tables. Okay, so now that we have these models, we have to basically tell Visual Studio that they've been created. So we go up to our application folder, we right click on the application folder, and we choose Build. So it's going to go through the process now of basically updating all the files that are needed to reflect that we have these new models that have been added to our website. So now that we have rebuilt the web application, now we can go ahead and build the controllers for each of these models. To do that, you just right click on the controllers folder and choose Add, and then we want to add a new controller. And it's going to be an MVC5 controller with views. That means it's going to build the actual pages that'll give us the CRUD functionality on our tables. And we're using the entity framework. We'll click Add here. Then we have to tell it which class. So remember, all our tables have been converted into these classes now in the models folder. So we'll just start with the first one, which is the departments. And we want to run these in the lunches context. Remember, that's the kind of overarching file that has all the definitions included in it. The translation, it makes the translation between the models and the actual tables themselves. And then we just simply click Add from here. A new controller will be created for us. And you'll see too that we'll get a new set of views for the departments page. So now you can see here is the controller that got created. And here is in the views folder, a new folder, and you notice it created a create page, a delete page, a details page, an edit page, and an index page. So if we go ahead and we actually run this page here, we'll go ahead and preview it in our browser. So there you can see the index page, basically giving us an overview of the different department names that are in that table. If you want to edit any one of these, we just click on the Edit button. You can make your changes there and save it. Or if we wanted to delete one, we can just click on delete. Or if we just want to see if there's more information with a particular, of course this is not the best example in this table. All we have is one field and one value per field, right? So let me close that one up. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm just going to go through and create the rest of the controllers for all the rest of the tables, and then I'll come back and show you that we have all those built. Alright, so I've gone through and added now a controller for each of the tables. So we have L departments, L employees, L foods, lunch items, lunches, suppliers. And then down in our views, you can see that a folder was created for each one of those. And then each of the folders has a set of CRUD pages in there: create, delete, details, edit, and index. And so that's pretty much all there is to it. This is what Microsoft is referring to as auto-magically creating your website from a database that already has tables and data populated in it. So let me just show you the final results here. I've gone ahead and I published this up to one of the servers that I have access to. So we can open it up here in Google Chrome. Just go to msjctv.com/MVC. And there you can see the results of what we just showed you in that little video demo there. I've done a couple of modifications here. I modified the actual home index page to reflect the SQL Programming Level 2 course, added the CIS logo and the course number up here, so that becomes our home page. But you can see here's the employees table. Here's the departments table, foods, lunches, lunch items, suppliers, books, and authors. Of course, those are not part of the lunches database. I did add those as well from the books database. So you can see, it's a fully functional set of CRUD pages here. We can create new employees if we wanted to, give them a new ID. I need to change this here because this actually is linked to the departments table, so we have to make sure that we have a value in here that matches what's in that table. So there's our new entry. We can edit it if we want. Of course, we can delete it if we want. So very cool stuff. Auto-magically created by Microsoft Visual Studio 2015. This again is called database first migration. So you built the tables, you created the schema of those tables, and then imported them into Visual Studio and let Visual Studio essentially then do all of the work from there to create a full set of CRUD pages for all of your tables.